Now, our first set of artists, we have a spoken word project which we ran a series of workshops this last January with artist Nouk. Those of you who came to our Ballarat Lounge Room events last June and July may recall Ab's work at May. We had a fabulous spoken word segment there. I'm going to read the gig here. Powerful and inspiring spoken word artist. He's a third in National Slam Poetry Champ and the author of the book Humble. And those of you who attended the Backyard Taster Sister event Lounge Room last year will remember the power of Nouk's spoken word performance. Following a lyric writing workshop led by Ab as part of this year's Backyard Tasters community engagement opportunity, we're excited to have local writers and word artists joining Ab on stage this evening. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Ab to come up on stage. A warm Ballarat welcome, guys.
This mic is short. Welcome, Ballarat. That's a very responsive crowd. Or maybe it's the mute button. First of all, thanks to the council for being with us this evening, or was it afternoon? I'm not sure what time it is. Please give yourself a round of applause for being with us, and to the amazing folks behind the 2015 Ballarat Backyard Tasters. It's amazing to be in the community. Yes, yes indeed. All right. This is a poem I wrote in recognition of my own identity battlings, so please bear with me. I hope they're not coming for me, those silence. I didn't say anything wrong yet. Wow. Cool. My apology will not make the national news. My apology, some will refuse. My apology, well, my apology just started, and I'm not quite sure if it's enough to say the least. My apology, it's not a gimmick. It's not a clever wordplay. Rather, what I've been procrastinating, I'm here to say. My apology will not sound better than Kevin Rudd's, but it will carry on and emphasize more than just sorry. My apology is not a fiction story with a twisting end. It's what I should have said back then. It will not sound any different. It's never to offend blacks, nor whites, or anything for that matter. And mostly, my apology will not start the same way you probably heard thousands of other keynote speech start the same way that they start, and they start to say, acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we gather. It's said but hardly ever meant. It's starting to sound more of a compliment than an actual repent. I can't exclude myself from saying it. I'm aware of my unforgivable acts of pretense when I should have sought out the culture, learned the languages, hear the stories from different tribes, feel the grief, and know how dignity is lost when there's no longer any sense of pride. My apologies for the second-class citizens, men, women, and children, almost invisible. Seeing their culture wiped out is despicable. My apology dates back to 1788. I myself am an intruder, invaded the land without knowing and still showing lack of respect to the owners of the land by calling this place home. Let me dearly apologize for accepting and becoming a citizen. I'm almost in the same category as Captain Cook. I've pledged an allegiance to serve and respect the white man instead of the black owner. So if I'm to love and die for this country, I need to know you're with me, understand, and forgive me. A refugee is who I was. My country would never accept me, but that's not an excuse. Here is my apology for every child taken away, and every mother who died yesterday, and those living wishing they would die today. Every father powerless, indigenous empowerment if we want to stand for something. What's left of the people who once owned this land? What's left is the crushed up bones, soul, and sand. The culture disrespected, celebrated on a day we're well familiar with, and we call it Australia Day. So if and for any reasons we have any doubts, we should always shout. It always has and it always will be Aboriginals' land. It takes ignorance to destroy a culture, but it only takes acknowledgement to revive it. We all gotta try, and I'm trying. They've given me 10 minutes, but as was mentioned earlier, we ran a workshop a few weeks ago, and some of the workshop participants will share some of their spoken words with you guys. But before I introduce up the next spoken word artist, let me just quickly give you a quick background into how I got into this. 3 years ago, I couldn't read or write. I arrived, me and my 8 siblings and single parent, to Australia as refugees, and it was one of those unbelievable journeys, because it's not every day that me and my brother were eating bread with ketchup, because we were fascinated by that. And when we walked into Hungry Jack's, we did not understand how you could have a free refill. Just kept going. The manager had to kick us out, but it was alright. We didn't notice it. But the different shift, the battles of gratitude and making it here now. So as soon as I learned to write, I got a diary and I started piecing together some of my emotions in it. And this is one of those poems that came out of it. I hope you can relate. Dear Dad, 9 years of illiteracy and now I can finally write to you. There is so much to say and it's a cliche, but would you believe it? I stand on stages nowadays. Many would not understand the depth of how much of an accomplishment this is. 9 years ago, when we arrived in Australia, I could only say yes and no, and I even got the two mixed up most of the time. Believe it or not, I'm not a poet yet, and I don't think I will be anytime soon. From the public spectrum, it's fascinating how I embody emotions with my writings, and even when I don't mean it, people feel it. Maybe I need to lighten up, say a few jokes, and keep the crowd entertained. What good will that do? Making people feel good only to realize I didn't tell the truth about who I am and where I'm from. It's difficult to explain, because 10 years ago, we would have been on a boat heading anywhere where there is freedom, and guess what? A year after you died, Dad, we were granted the refugee status and we flew here. Can you believe it? I can't, because I'm waking up every morning thinking that could have been us on those sinking boats. And even after reaching the shores, they would have made sure we were treated no different from everybody else. It's silly how they want those arriving by boats to validate that they're refugees, as if getting on a boat half a continent away is for a holiday. They don't want to understand. They fail to see the desperation. This is not a play. This is life, and some of us want to live. Please allow that. Dad, I made a promise to myself, and I will always follow, that if I ever lose sight of what really matters, then I don't deserve the freedom, let alone the speech. Keep on reminding them that I am not a refugee, I'm just a lucky individual who's young and free. Because if I ever lose sight of what really matters, then my ungratefulness is felt, and that's the great injustice. Perfect timing. Perfect timing. I'm terrible with timing. Just when I get on stage, so thank you for bearing with me. Let's give a round of applause for one of the spoken word participants who oh well, he knows himself. Do I have to say your name or do I wait for you to come say your name? Please give it up for Nouk. All right. I didn't want to pronounce it wrong, right? So you gotta help me out. Neville Height, ladies and gentlemen. Please give a round of applause for Neville Height. I keep telling people English is my second language and they don't believe it. Sure? Because I can adjust it for you. I can adjust it for you. See? Like an option. There you go.
There we go. Thanks, Abe. Alright, if you, while some of the music's playing, or in the next few weeks, some of my poetry is actually over in the Exquisite space, so you can check out some of the photos and poems there of some of my travels. This is one of them I wrote in America a few years ago. It's escaping a Ballarat winter and enjoying the tail end of an American summer. It's entitled Route 66. She sat on the stool as we spent the night playing pool, her legs covered in black. From the moment I saw her, I thought she was whack. Singing tunes to the jukebox, the light shimmering in her luscious locks. Guys were buying her drinks all night, asking her if she'd like a light. As the sun chased the moon away, the rumour was spreading that she was gay. Last drinks were called, and I knew I had to make my move. Walking over, I was totally in my groove. asking her if she'd like me to walk her home. When she said yes, I was smiling like a garden gnome. Dust. There it sits, collecting dust on the shelf. Forgotten, neglected, superseded many times over. Once a vital part of her life, inseparable until her sweet 16th. Now it sits surrounded by so many memories from another life. Other things have taken its place. So many things to do, places to go. She no longer has time for things like that. Now she's just busy, 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 busy. It once held her every dream in its heart, and now it sits collecting dust. And this one I felt so inspired enough to write after the end of a TV series. And some of you may guess what it is by the end of it. It's called Blue French Horn Forever. I spent years listening to your song, but now the last note has been played. You weaved a tune so captivating. I held my breath with every verse, wondering what tale the next section would tell. I laughed, I cried, I even high-fived. All in all, it's been, wait for it, legendary. So many hooks over the years kept me coming back for more, but now the final note has been played. Promises were made and friendships challenged, yet the whole world tuned in as you took your final bow. Love wove its unpredictable hand throughout. The city skyscape changed in the time it took to tell your tale. And now the curtains have closed forever. Blue French horn forever. Thank you very much. Books are over there to check out, and I'll hand back to Ave.
Naval height, ladies and gentlemen. Applause? Yes, yes. Now is Jess around? Oh, there you are. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, your next contender on The Price is Right. Now, no excitement? Please put your hands together for Jace, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're going to go through this again.
Is that about right? Yeah, maybe, yeah, about right. Hi. I'm Jess. I'm a teacher and a mother and a pet owner. This is a piece called A Very Interesting Woman. So, just remember this. Only boring women have clean floors. There are always so many things to do, and there's never enough time. I'm rushing around from place to place and from task to task. I can be even rushing when I'm in the one spot if I'm managing my small human. Why do I let it get like this, I ask? Why bother to wear the mask that says it's all okay, that all is calm, that life is easy, no cause for alarm? Well, it's not really that bad, it just sometimes gets a bit frenetic, so that by the end of the week, when all is done, I'm not feeling that energetic. And I've got dirty floors. There are those afternoons spent cleaning the house and making things shine, and that's a lie really, because at my house when cleaning, near enough is good enough and things are not often gleaming. And with 2 dogs, 5 cats and 2 small children, I can say with some conviction that my floor, especially in the kitchen, is rarely a squeaky clean place. Now, one complaint of this, really just a mention, to a friend who is much wiser than me about how my floors are at a standard much less than convention, she did point out, only boring women have clean floors. And I tell you, that makes me very, very interesting. And then there is the frustration of that time spent cleaning when I could be doing much better things, but, you know, the pile of dishes is huge. I've left it too long, or the couch is screaming for the pile of clothes that are swallowing it to be folded and put away. And the puppy has just peed on the floor, so I've mopped it up quickly so the toddler doesn't walk through it. When I get back, there's a cat ripping at the chair, and Miss Two has just put her hands in the air and whopped the other dog on the head with her train. Oh joy, I've got to deal with that again. Off to your room you will go, and you will not hit my dogs on the head or any other bit. Then there are tears and as furrowed a brow as her 2-year-old forehead will allow, along with a crossing of arms and a huff of the shoulders and a stamp of the foot on the floor. That not so clean floor. So on I go, doing all that is needed. Cleaning bathrooms and mirrors, feeding animals, breaking up cat fights, emptying the dishwasher and putting more in. And don't even ask me what's for dinner. My husband's not home, so I'm doing all this on my own, and he's again left his socks on the floor. And this little thing makes me really quite furious, and I want to throw things around and scream really loud, for fuck's sake, get me a cleaning lady, I'm too interesting for this. I know that's not such a bad idea. Is there room in the budget? You know, money to save me this time and frustration? Well, I'm in charge of the money, so maybe I can fudge it. Imagine coming home after a busy day, see a clean floor, and know more around the house is sparkling. I reckon it'd be worth every cent just quietly, and if I believed in a God of any description, I'd thank her for those who do that work. Interestingly, though, among all this calamity, this rushing about and these bids on insanity, I still somehow find the time to see a good quantifiable amount of brain-dead TV. Now, not at all that I want to admit it because I'm an intellectual, so want you to think that what I do in my spare time is watch documentaries and read books about politics. I watch Grey's Anatomy and NCIS, and I'm up to date on all of them too, so if I just need to find me another few different series for those times when I crave some quiet moments tucked away in my cave. Don't poke the bear. She's a very interesting bear with dirty floors. After an episode, or 4 more like it, I happily re-emerge and am ready to dance to the Wiggles or do drawing or even the dishes or even think about going to the shops, though I do manage to normally palm that job off to the husband who leaves his socks on the floor. But that's my life and that's how I live it. And by definition, and due to the state of my floors, I am one very interesting woman. Thank you.
Indeed, a very interesting woman. Please give it up for Jess, ladies and gentlemen. That was amazing. Wow. Okay, now I have a confession to make. See, used to be short. I don't remember what happened. See, struggling. I'm struggling with my with finding the pairs of jeans that fit me. It doesn't go too well. So just in case you're thinking I'm being fashionable right now, no, this is desperation at its finest. I like to test the crowd, the authenticity of the crowd. So by a show of hands, who voted for Tony Abbott? Okay, just in case you're wondering, this is an example. I actually didn't. This is an example. But nobody wants to claim him, poor guy. Nah, but I think we could do better than to criticize one another in these times. Anyway, I don't know why I mentioned Tony Abbott, but I think I have some pity for him. These tough times. Sure. I'm gonna have to run through a few poems. If you can't find your way through it, just wait for me at the end. It's very easy. You will notice it. All right. Okay. Hello. Cool. Not that scary. All right. So just real quickly, I was born in the north of Sudan. My mom told me she birthed me in prison, and don't ask why. She birthed me in prison, and one of 8 children. one night she decided we've got to leave, and we went to Egypt. And a few years later down the track, due to some unforeseeable circumstances and luck, or call it a miracle, or call it prayer, however way you want to word it, we were accepted by the Australian embassy, and then we made it to Australia. And it was one of those moments where it was so real. And that's pretty much what I try to convince myself that it is, because I'm so lucky to that extent. You've got to make sense of your surroundings. We grew up in streets so rough, the concrete was soft. And we had to make sense of what was never explained to us. We asked questions that we had to make up the answers to. For example, how come we couldn't pack most of our friends in our backpacks? That was one of them. Or how come we're the lucky ones? See, I grew up in a society that decided to use its children as child soldiers. Instead of wearing nappies, we were wearing camouflage. Instead of baby bottles, they put guns in our hands and persuade us to think as men in advance. Only 10 years old, he wanted to refuse but had nowhere to go. In his mind, this isn't the life that he was destined to be. He just wanted to be free. My hopes for the world is constantly diminishing as we are constantly reminded of what we've become. Pretend to preach love instead, it's all hatred. Quick to blame religion and talk about change. Our selfish ways have taken us to the graves. But if you make it to heaven before me, tell all the child soldiers the land they fought for is finally free, and they should keep their head high because they fought for me. I'm told I'm lucky I could have been a child soldier. I could have been dead, instead I'm still alive. You see, I don't know about you, but God don't make mistakes. He blessed me. I'm blessed to testify because I know what hatred looks like. It's bullets loaded in a gun and pointed at infants, and they call that revenge. I know what hatred looks like. It's bombs dropping on innocent civilians and mothers trying to avoid them while protecting their children. I know what hatred looks like. It's genocide justified, a pair of bodies in a mass grave while the world turns a blind eye. I know what hatred looks like. But these days, that defeats the purpose. I know what love looks like. It's of the extensiveness of a handshake as we become friends and not enemies. We are what love looks like. And so I've traded handshakes for kisses and hugs. And you would be amazed how defensive people get, but also how quickly a smile unshackles their guards. In my short time whilst traveling, I've learned to conceal all my sorrows because it isn't just about me anymore. People are at their best when I smile, mainly because it gets them to do the same. I feel obliged to never let a day go by without causing others to smile at their own will. To break the barriers we've imposed upon ourselves, I refuse to shake hands, mainly because it causes distance I would rather embrace. As uncomfortable as it may sound, some people want to break away while others realize it's okay. The one essential quality of human connection is touch. Then why do we avoid each other so much? To acknowledge someone and to know their presence, reach out. The stars stay where they are because they know that's where we will look. Familiarity breeds confidence. Smile is the one key that unlocks all gates, and hearts are unraveled by the facial expression of a sincere smile. I'm convinced because I heard the wind made a bed and said to the sun, see the man down the street? I bet I can make him take off his coat faster than you can. So the sun went behind the clouds and the wind blew. The harder it blew, the more the man gripped on his coat. Force always loses. When the wind gave up, the sun came out from behind the clouds and smiled, and the man took off his coat. The alternative has been at our disposal. We just need to learn to be gentle with one another. And so I've traded handshakes because they're too rough. I'd rather kisses and hugs. There's plenty to go around. Cool, nice, thank you. I'm on point. 3 years ago, I didn't know how to read and write. It was an embarrassing confrontation for me. As soon as that happened, my mom said, "Well, now that you know where your misfortune is, use it to your advantage." And so I went on a hunt, and I found Dr. Seuss books And I was like, you can write like that? You can make up characters like that? I was fascinated. I was fascinated by a lot of the stuff that we didn't have growing up in terms of reading and how that allows you to think. So these next poems, I wrote it specifically out of that desperation for self-expression, to find out what is happening. And so I would like you to imagine this poem just real quick. If the world were to focus its efforts on building a marching band, we wouldn't need armies or the military presence. The people would be busy manufacturing instruments instead of guns and ammunitions. There would be joy because our task would be tuning instruments and plotting sing-alongs when we are called to intervene, putting many minds to rest assured the defense forces are not for the purpose of another warfare but a jamboree. If this world were to focus its efforts on building a marching band, we wouldn't get rid of elderly people because they would be showing the children a world without borders. The marching band would start from New Orleans Jazz Festival to Tel Aviv, visiting the Gaza Strip, joining forces and singing along with the revolutionary voices, extending for a handshake in spite of our indifferences, real as they might seem. And while we in the Middle East will clean up the mess from Baghdad, calling over the children from Kabul, passing by Benghazi, drumming in the central of Africa, gather in Asia for tea, listening to the didgeridoo, hear Dreamtime stories in Alice Springs. March to Europe for the Glastonbury Festival, skiing in Vancouver, South America for the Carnival, pairing up in twos, learning to samba. But you see, we are told the world is ours. How come it doesn't excite us anymore? Our politicians invest so much in weapons that can eradicate our future in a matter of seconds. Are we concerned citizens, or don't we care anymore? Because if this world is ours, we would have the best interest in mind, which would be focusing so much of our attention on building instruments instead of guns and ammunitions. And we would be singing songs such as, "This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine." My mom reminds me that within every human being there's a candlelight. No matter how hard the wind blows, it would never blow off. So stop trying to protect your glow from spraying across the world. Start marching towards it. Start walking around with a smile that is more inviting. There is a candlelight in every single human being, but we're too busy trying to make sure that it doesn't shine to brighten our path. There's expectations, there's you could have, you should have, and you could have been. We focus all our efforts on criticizing instead of praising. When someone does the right thing, it doesn't interest us anymore because it's not interesting. But when someone does something that is wrong, we're quick to rush and give our criticism. See, it doesn't take much to realize that you need to live, love, laugh and be laughed at. Love and be lovable. Let, but never let go. Look for people. We may not meet your expectation of perfection, but we are special, especially when we smile. To the sun, we become incomparable. To say humans are unique and exquisite is just not enough. So what do we need to top it up? Race, class, status, and ethnicity should never define our individuality because the human heart is the true identity of humanity. What we think of transfers to our hearts, making us who we are. So if what we think of is who we become, then why can't we think using our own instincts? We all want to make a difference, but we want to be different when it's the same goals we want to accomplish. Happiness, we all deserve it, but who would rather grief and sadness? We were once divided by colors, blacks and whites. It took years and centuries for this 21st century to maintain humanity. Though it's still unstable, some people believe the world is a wicked place, but that's because we made it so. We can change it to our advantage when we realize it's our responsibility to love anyone and everyone. The human heart was never made for one. It was made for all. Lonely hearts we should feel, broken hearts are ours to heal. When one is called an enemy, we all become enemies. But when one is called a friend, we all become friends. So remember to never be too proud to put aside your pride. If you laugh from the inside, it won't hurt you outside. So extend your lips, make it a gift, wrap it in love, seal it with your tears. Don't put it in an envelope, deliver it yourself, for it may be the last time you give away such a gift. What use is life if we can't live, love, laugh, and be laughed at? When we all know death gets each and every one of us, make sure you have the last laugh. And while you're at it, let your light shine. It's a little, but it makes a difference. Thank you. Keep the round of applause going for Shiri. She's done so much in terms of organization. Wow, and everyone else who's involved, the folks behind the sound. Thank you so much for having us. Spoken word crew. Give it up for Novel Height once more, and Jesse. Where's she at? Those two amazing spoken word artists. Thank you, Ballarat. Appreciate it.